So as you heard, I'm Steve Hinton, and I want to talk about the growing eco-village movement, which I'm sort of part of because I was one of the founders of the eco-village area, which is in Flens commune. Now, as far as I know, we're trying to build a network of eco-village initiatives around Sweden, and as far as I know, there are about 50 going on. And they're all in different stages of development, which I'm sort of part of because I was just simply cooperative living, and others are, from an environmental point of view, very, very advanced. And some are conference centres. But if we say we have 298 municipalities in Sweden, I'd say we have 50 initiatives, and there's normally about one initiative in one municipality. So we're looking at around a quarter, maybe a little bit less, of municipalities in Sweden that actually have an eco-village initiative going on. And this is kind of interesting because what I want to say is that we are on the edge of change. We're on the edge of changing to a society without fossil fuel. We're on the edge of changing in terms of we're realising that we're on the edge of ecological limits, as Johan Rockström said the other day. We're on the edge of a change, and maybe some of the lessons that we've had, hard-learned lessons, I'll say. I've lost a lot of my friends and not made a lot of new ones in this sort of with this sort of initiative. But maybe these hard-learned lessons can actually be the basis of what I'd like to call stage 2 of this development of ecological living. So that's what I'd like to share with you today, some of the thoughts and the practicalities of what we've been doing. And I'd like to finish off with a little bit of a wish list. So if I had, our village is in Flens commune. If I had the commune tjänstemän in front of me and they said, "What do you want, Steve?" I'd say, "Well, this is what I want." So just to... And then it's fantastic to have Nick here to get some theoretical feedback on the way we're thinking. So anyway, look, I wanted to be an Ericsson guy for the rest of my life. Just so you understand this, I worked for Ericsson, I was a middle manager there, I was spending $1 million a week, I was having a lot of fun, and I didn't want it to change. Just so you know that, that's my background. I was having so much fun. You know, it was a very difficult environment, but it was a lot of fun, and the salary was great, you know, back then. So, I mean, I never wanted it to lose. But at the same time, when you work with Ericsson, you're always working 3 years in advance. You're always working with products that don't exist and that you're trying to bring into existence. And my focus, since as an Ericsson background person, my focus is always in the future, always trying to have that product delivered when that trend comes along. And you're looking at a convergence of trends. They're social trends, but they're also technological trends, and they're also service trends, that they're all coming together at the same time. So that was very much my life, and so I was very, very much sensitive to trends going on. When I left Ericsson, or let's say when Ericsson kicked me out, which is probably the best way to talk about it, when Ericsson downsized, I really didn't know what I was going to do. But interestingly enough, I'm an environmental fanatic, at least I think in myself. And I was writing a book about environment, and so I decided to finish my book off. And so I decided to do a lot of research to see, is what I'm saying right? And the first thing I found was that it was worse than I thought. And when I went to talk to people about, is it this bad? People said, no, it isn't. It's worse. And so a lot of people, so I know a lot of people, they're in my position. They've been working in a high-powered job. They've had a lot of responsibility. And today, they're learning gardening. Why? You know, what's going on? And a little bit of this I want to share. The first thing is of course it's trends. Today is not like tomorrow. Tomorrow is not like today. We were brought up in the 60s A lot of knowledge about management and planning comes from the 60s. Terby was a fantastic place designed for the motor car. When you look at Terby today, you think, how are they thinking? You know, it's like that knowledge, but it's still in our fingertips. But the world has changed. You know, energy was cheap and abundant. Today we're looking for unconventional energy forms. Population is 3 billion, it's 7 billion now, and there isn't any more soil in the world, actually, than there was back then. The 500 million in hunger, they're now 850 million, and it's rising. The mindset back then in the 60s that I grew up with was industrial expansion. I can tell you that every meeting I was in Ericsson was a hockey stick. Oh, you know, we're going to sell that product then, and then it's going to take off. That's the whole mentality, is hockey stick. That's the way we sold in our ideas to our management. And then urbanisation was at 30%. Today, I would say today, the mindset is more that we're living on one planet and we've got to get used to that idea. Also, the urbanisation has gone now over 50%, that was a couple of years ago, and Sweden is highly urbanised, up to 85%. So Sweden is actually at the edge of this. The old paradigm won't work, we need a new paradigm, and I'd say that idiots like me that have been like saying, let's do this experiment, probably have a lot of useful stuff to offer. So anyway, what I think we could say that people who have been in my position, people who have been consultants who today are gardeners, they've all seen the same thing, and that is that, and unfortunately Marx said it too, industrial capitalism actually is not going to work, it's going to eat itself up. And I think this is what we're finding when we're looking at the figures. We're seeing that our energy changes, energy use is sort of like more or less constant, but what's happening in terms of GDP is we're seeing a trend worldwide of economic growth going down. But at the same time, and this is what, of course, when you work in Ericsson, you start to see things like this. Change in real GDP by part of the world is going down, 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 which means the company you're working for is not making profits. Or it's harder to make profits. It's harder and harder to make profits, which means, oh, you're working in Ericsson, are you? How much better do you think someone in China is than you? Oh, well, they're about 30% less than I am. And how much wages will they take? Well, they'll take 50% wages. Right, I have a good deal. I'm going to fire you and I'm going to go to China. It makes a lot of sense. So I think a lot of people, this is really important, a lot of people mentally are seeing that their beautiful career and their job is not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And when we've been talking about eco-villages, we've been attracting a lot of people who are starting to realise that. Why should I stress myself to death more and more and more in a job that anyway is going to go to China anyway? That's the kind of person you're looking at. They're people who are thinking, and I say they're thinking the right way. So what we've done is we've asked people, what is luxury for you? We asked them, if we're going to have an eco-village project, let's make it a luxury project. What's luxury for you? We've got people to dream, and they all say the same thing. I want to live in a beautiful house, I want to be close to nature, I want to be with my family, I want time, you know, I want to have my hobbies, I want to have an open fire, I want to play music, I want to help other people, I want to start my own company, do my own thing. They say this. What we've done is we've said to people, well, can you please take away things that take a lot of oil, a lot of energy, and flying around the world and driving around in road. The question we ask people is if we could take away all of those things that are actually environmentally damaging, would you still say this is a luxury life? And of course people say yes. So then we said, this is about 9 years ago, when we said, right, let's do this, let's try this, because that job that we're searching isn't going to give us this. Let's do it ourselves. This is the height of capitalism, by the way. This is where I invest my time and my energy and a little bit of money I have left from Ericsson in creating the life I want. Instead of me which I know politically, I know a lot of people want you to do this. They want you to make yourself attractive on the labour market. And that social contract is being undermined, because I can make myself as attractive as I like on the labour market. And the labour market isn't very interested, actually, unless I'm a nurse, in which case they're very interested, but they're not going to pay me anything anyway. So this is a really, really important discussion to have, but that's not now. So this is what we decided, and the thing is we come to a point where we come to the middle of peak oil, climate system disruption, and economic system dysfunction, which is what a lot of people are, literally saying this is what we're living in the elephant in the room. The resilient village provides nutritious food, wonderful shelter, it's social conscious that you're not polluting the world and externalising, enables you to be the change you want to see because you're working with other people, and it provides something you can pass on to your children. That's what we started working on. How are we going to do it? We discovered something called the eco-unit, which is a good, I think, planning basis. Now, the eco-unit, which comes from Folke Ginter, by the way, and he's developed this, and he's a systems ecologist at Lund University. We need food production very close by where we live, for a lot of reasons. 61% of all fossil fuel used in the food chain actually comes from processing the food and transporting it, etc., etc. If you do this, immediately you've solved one of the biggest problems of your food footprint that you can think of. So food's close by, the houses are here, energy effective, all of the nutrients go to the housing area. The next thing is it needs to be recycled at a very high level, a complete level of recycling actually, and I'm talking nitrogen and phosphorus of course. They need to be recycled back to food production. And we have this area which is energy capture and water purification. And so basically that's the idea, is that you have food production and a little bit of forest, and the nutrients go to the housing and then they recycle back. The other thing we decided what we needed was sort of like an area of work. So this would be like an area which is a cooperative of, what do you call it, a small company cooperative, where we can work together on businesses. They can also be part of this nutrient and energy capture and recycling.
The size of the squares related to
No.
corresponding to the real
No. But let me give you dimensions. What Folke's done, because we're all a certain size and we all need a certain number of calories, and there's a certain amount of sun coming down, etc., etc. What Folke says is the ideal size for an eco-unit is a maximum 200 people in about 80 houses, which will require about 50 hectare of growing land, and then you have to add forest on top of that. So that's basically the idea of the eco-unit, and that's what we started out to try and create, something of that size, and to try and find a way to invest in that. 50 hectare, by the way, is something you can stand in, you can look around, and you can say, I'm responsible for this. It's a bit about land trust, if you like. That's the trust part of the land. I'm responsible for this, and I'm responsible for this with you, and I trust you. But we're going to take care of this land responsibly, and even the economic management of it. That's what it kind of looks like in Folke's ideas. But a lot of ditches to reclaim nutrients, and then that's biomass you can burn or use for soil land creation. What this is very interestingly does is it addresses 8 of the 9 planetary boundaries that Johan Roxon was talking about in the radio the other day. Carbon dioxide transport, if we say this is Sweden's average, we reckon it would take, because you still have to go to and from the eco-village, so it wouldn't be completely, but it would be the import of phosphorus fertiliser and import of nitrogen fertiliser. We decide it has to be zero. The emissions are the same, have to be zero. another carbon dioxide.
Can I just ask, just to clarify, is this the actual village in Vienna you're talking about? Or
No, this is the design of it.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, yeah. This is the plan.
Okay, this is what it's going to be.
But people in the eco-village movement, this is in their mind. This is the way they think. Yeah. What I will say though, what I will say about this is that it's quite interesting that you can. You don't have to think of it like this. This bit, what we've been looking at is doing this in a city, because what you can do is you can change this bit here. And in our bostadsrättsförening in Vällingby, we've been thinking maybe we could do it this way. We've got our bostadsrättsförening is 65 flats, so we're about the size of an eco unit, which is enough, to be able to agree on this. But what you would do, you would hire 1 or 2 farmers, and you tell them, we'll buy everything you produce, plus that we want you to buy food from from the wholesaler. You drive that to our place, you put it in a room, we'll go and pick it up, and you will not drive back empty. You will take all of our composted food waste, urine and feces, you will take that back and put that on the land. So, I mean, you could do this in the town as well. What's interesting if you do this, deal with a farmer, is that the farmer can get a third more for the food they produce. The other thing is there's absolutely no waste. I mean, bent carrots and things like that, they're your carrots, so you'll take them. This has been done in Ireland, and it's working extremely well. They pay a monthly fee 3 months in advance. They pay the farmer directly, and then the farmer just comes, puts everything in the barn, and people go and pick it up. And they trust each other, so there's no packaging or anything. So this idea can be done in the town as well. In terms of thorns about owning the land, we really had a tough time, which is why we bought what we did. We bought. We weren't 50 families. We were 6 individuals. We each put in $500,000. We bought a farm, 20-hectare farm, for about $3 million. And then we turned it over to a cooperative. So the cooperative owns the land. Based on that, if you're a member of the cooperative, then you have a right to put a house up on the land wherever you want. And we've had many different options. And the option we've had is that individuals will want to build houses on the plots that they're allowed to build, so they build like that. Whereas we've also had, some people wanted to start a housing cooperative, a bostadsrättsförening, and then they wanted to do that together on the land as well. So that's also been looked at. And there's also a viewers cooperative who looked at that as well. Theoretically, we could do it that way. So far we've only gone with individual houses. But we're on our way, and we're getting more and more members as time goes on. So that's right. We could do a food cooperative, and we've been thinking about doing that with the local villages, because it turns out that we could actually grow more food than we needed, so we could actually have a cooperative, and we could supply all of the food for the local village, which is 100 houses, if it was just vegetables, and not do anything else. So we could do that locally, and at this moment we've got like Sam Ferry here, which is where we've got the common ownership of the water and the wastewater done that way. So I mean, it's really very possible to do this once you start working on it. We haven't done the entrepreneurs cooperative yet. We want to do that. We've done a lot of building with clay, and we've been helping each other out, which is where we're on the edge of maybe starting a co-building cooperative, where we want to build each other's houses and help out. And then you've got, as I said, you've got the construction there. All of these forms of cooperatives are very interesting for us, and they can all spring out of an eco-village from an eco-village project. It's definitely a consumer cooperative, it's definitely a purchasing cooperative. If we get together and start businesses around the eco-village, then we could be starting this as well. We've already got an eco-cleaning firm, which is just starting. Now, there are a lot of practical barriers, and this is what Nick was pointing to. We had to use all the money to buy the land, and then we didn't have a lot of money left over to build the buildings. That's difficult. It's almost like the eco-village movement. You've got to be either rich or really crazy or really lucky. And the other thing about it is that this brings you to this thing about living in two places. So I've got my flat in Stockholm and I've got my eco-village. It's very, very inconvenient. I've got my work there and the kids won't move and I've got to pay the rent there and I've got to pay the rent there, and it's all very expensive. It could be done better. It's like I say, don't look at us and say, oh, we should do what Enyedit did. You should look at us and say, thank you, Enyedit, you've made all the mistakes, so now I don't have to make them, basically. So living in two places is difficult. Financing is difficult. There are a lot of questions that come up with the banks around how to finance this sort of thing. One of them is that you've got ufri grund is when you go. The thing is, you own the land, but it's still all free because you own it for someone else. There's a lot of interesting legal issues that maybe we've never had before to think about. The other thing is finding a job in that place. It's like making the leap. However, what I will say is if economy on, there's also a kickstart for the local economy when it comes to green business, because often people living in eco-villages, they've got the idea, or a county wanted to have an eco-village. It would give a lot. I mean, the first thing it would give is the way that nutrient recycling is done. You'll definitely lower your footprint per capita. The other thing is you wouldn't have to worry about putting in wastewater. You literally wouldn't have to build out wastewater capacity, because what you see as wastewater and problem, eco-villages see as, hey, that's what we grow our stuff on. There's a completely different attitude there. The other thing, and that's happening that we're noticing in several places around the country, is that these places, they're real. You can go and visit them, you can touch them, you can take your kids there and there'll be a little cafe there, and the kids can play in the woods, and you can see what does a recycling toilet look like, what do solar cells produce, etc., etc., etc. This is real and this is happening. To have one in your area is really good for all citizens to see what's going on. There's also a kickstart for the local economy when it comes to green business, because often people living in eco-villages, they've got the idea, they want to get started. A lot of people working with us are really good at green building and all kinds of things, that kind of competence you wouldn't have otherwise. It's also very labour intensive, what goes on in an eco-village. What we normally say is that we spend maybe half of our time helping out with the food. The rest of our time we have an ordinary job. If you're in an eco-village, you're only doing three things. You're either socialising, having a lot of fun, or you're working on building, or you're just helping out with the food production. That's life. You know, you get really, really close to reality. And then there's a lot of focus on community. Our eco-village and a lot of other eco-villages, it's like we invited everyone to Midsummer. You know, we invite the whole village because we understand what community means. It's in community that is the start of a sound local economy. So if I had a bit of a wish list, and I know I'm dreaming, but I think what I'd like to do, if we said we went to stage 2, what we'd like to see is some kind of privatisation. That's to say, a county or a commune said, we want this to happen, and let's start thinking about it, let's have a project. And the reason it would be good to have a project is because there's a lot of people in my network and in Hills Escalera, I know, and in Yard Bank, they want to do something, but they need a kickstart, they need a help. If they knew there's a project going on, you could probably attract a lot of people who would be interested. You need banks involved from the beginning. I know Yard Bank is interested, I know, but as a board member I'm only one person that can talk about this. There are a lot of wills going on, but there is a possibility banks are interested. If a commune is interested, you can get a bank interested. You get a bank and a commune interested, then you can get job centres interested, and you can get local builders interested as well. So you start to get the interest up from projectisation. The other one is about zoning, allocation and lease of land. That's also really important. We've worked a lot with Gnesta Commune, and we sat there and we said, right, well, if we're going to do what we want to do, we could do it there, we could do it there, we could do it there. Gnesta Commune had land set aside for this as part of their plans. And so it meant that these projects would come in as part of the general planning of the town or of the area. Now, if we're going to do this is something else that Escalera talks a lot about. In Swedish they call it lokalförvaltning, but in England they call it co-cooperative. And that's the idea that if you're going to live in a place, then maybe the citizens should be providing the service for each other, a co-cooperative approach. And the sort of things, when you have an eco-village come into your area, that's something that you can use the eco-village to kick that off. As I said, we're already doing a lot of cleaning, we're also helping out local old people. There's a lot of stuff like that that an eco-village can fix because it's already set up. They've got their meeting structure, they've got their legal structure, etc., etc. So that's another idea of it. And then lastly, assistance with renewable energy, solar, wind, being part of the biomass economy. I don't have them here, but up in Heby Commune, they've got something called Alpha Neighbour. And what Alpha Neighbour does is they install wind, solar, and a controller with batteries. Install it in one person's house. He or she is the Alpha Neighbour. They get a reduced price on that if they invite their neighbours round. Now, if they invite the neighbours round, the neighbours are also invited to get a reduced price if they do the same thing. And so in Heby, this idea of renewable energy is starting to spread person to person through this. An eco-village is an ideal place to be a driver of that. Okay, that's if you want to look it up, it's Lambeth that's looking at this idea of being a co-cooperative council. And traditional council departments, this is Statsdeal. They've got their own money, by the way, and they've got their own market. And another thing about this is, yes, Lambeth is the home of the local currency, the Bristol pound, and the council is going to involve residents in running services such as youth clubs, adventure playgrounds, and things like that. Again, that's something that an eco-village can drive. So that was basically all I had to say.